pull up a chair. This is Off the Back Porch. Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer is brought to you in part by Country Village Sporting Goods. Everything you need to get in the woods, the water, or to the camp is at Country Village Sporting Goods. Jason Hardy State Farm. Like a good neighbor, Jason Hardy at State Farm is there. And Larry's Pizza in El Dorado, home of the Double Pizza Parade.
20 plus years of bringing you the most important and latest information with local happenings, news, sports, opinions, and probably an attempt at humor. Also brought to you in part by Davis Farms Country Market. For farm to table fresh, it's Davis Farms Country Market. Cook's Body Shop. Chances are it will happen. And when it does, look to Cook's. Murphy Arts District. For the latest information on concerts and events, go to eldomad.com.
Recorded live from Main Street Pizza in historic, beautiful downtown El Dorado, Arkansas. With a history of being the voices you trust. This is Off the Back Porch with Boomer and Sandy. Or Sandy and Boomer. Or two old guys you've known for a long time, whatever. And now your hosts, Troy, Boomer, Barrios, and B.A. Sandy Sanford.
Hey, and welcome for another edition of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer. Hi, Sandy. I mean, Boomer.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really is Boomer.
Yes.
No matter what I say.
Mm-hmm. No matter how many times you go into business
And charge
say, I just
stuff.
put it on Boomer's tab.
Just put Boomer. I'm Boomer. Yeah.
Yeah.
You hadn't seen the podcast?
You got his card still, don't you? Yeah, just put it on that.
Put it on that. Yeah, that's right. So, but again, welcome along to another edition of the show. And Boomer, if I'm not mistaken, this is our 20th episode.
Uh-huh. And I almost missed it.
You did.
I was asleep.
You did.
No, I wasn't asleep.
I called him and
2:07 it was. I went, oh, no.
And I was
I'm
like,
late for my-
hey, man, I was just calling you. He's like, oh, wait a minute. I'll be right there. And he was within just a matter of minutes. He was here.
Mm-hmm.
And most weeks it's him reaching out to me. He's like, are
'cause
you
you're
running
running
late?
late. Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I am. Hang on, I'll be right there. So anyways, welcome to the show. We appreciate having you with us. Boomer, since we've started 20 episodes ago, I get a lot of questions, whether it's through Facebook Messenger, or especially our website, or our YouTube channel, our TikTok channel. I just get a lot of questions, and so I thought, rather than taking time to sit down and type out the same answer, because a lot of the questions are the same thing, I thought maybe we would just talk about some of these things here today.
Okay.
All right. So this first question is...
Wait, so do I get to answer them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. This first one was for you.
All right.
Boomer, I know you as Troy. I've known you as Troy for what seems like forever. Where did the name Boomer come from?
When I started in radio, I met with Sandy and Chase at that time, and Sandy said, "Well, come up with a name for yourself, and we're going to start tomorrow." So, my procrastinating self, I hadn't thought of one when I come back the next morning, and Sandy goes, "Well, what name do you want to go by?" I said, "Man, I hadn't really come to a conclusion yet." He says, "Well, it's going to be Boomer," because they'd already written stuff and all that. I guess because I was, I was in my 50s at that time, so I was definitely a Boomer.
Well, I'll tell you the honest truth where it came from. An episode of The Simpsons. Mm-hmm. So there's an episode of The Simpsons where there's a TV crew, and I don't remember what was happening, but a TV crew, and the camera goes to Bart Simpson, and he pulls out a hat and throws it on his head and said, "And I'd also like to say, so-and-so and Boomer are the best in the morning."
Oh, really?
And that's where I got the name Boomer.
Well, see, I never heard that story.
Got the name Boomer from. This question is to me. Sandy, what happened to you in life that made you so scared of riding in boats with Boomer?
That didn't happen.
I am not scared. You did.
Yeah,
I am not scared to ride in boats with Boomer. Let me be very clear.
Just cautious.
Very cautious. But, it's funny that they say that because I did have an incident earlier in life. I was about 6 years old and was with my Uncle Mason. And we were on the lake and he hit a stump, broke the prop. The only way we could get back was, basically just running it idle. And it was... And the boat shook like a Pentecostal camp meeting, man. It was the whole way. And so we are miles and miles and miles from the boat ramp.
Yeah.
And then a storm comes up.
Oh, Lord.
And it was bad. And at one point, they sent me and my cousin underneath I don't even remember what kind of boat he had, but there was a kind of a cabinet or whatever.
To get underneath. Yeah.
But we got underneath it, and my cousin looked at me and said, my daddy's drunk. We're going to die.
Not only a storm, but Uncle Daddy was drunk.
He was drunk. So I didn't remember him being drunk, but that's what my cousin told me, and I believed him because he was older than me. And so I was scared to death. So, I did have an instance where I did, but no, I pick about Boomer hitting stumps. I mean, you got to be careful. I mean, obviously, you're riding about out there where we would fish a lot. Yeah, you're going to hit some stumps, and you might want to be holding on. But no, I'm not scared to ride in the boat with Boomer. This question we've gotten a couple times. Whatever happened to Sergeant Major Cal McCracken?
Well, we just had to kind of retire him, as a lot, and not that we were on the cutting edge of comedy, but it was pretty good and it was pretty edgy.
It was. It was definitely edgy.
And we did some edgy stuff at that time. That when our society became a little more woke. Well, you hear the big time comedians talking about you can't make jokes anymore.
You can't do that anymore.
Yeah. So we just
Sergeant Cal McCracken.
He was a guy that still heard the voices and the sounds from Vietnam, and
the funny thing is
he was triggered real well.
We came up with that on the fly. I mean, we didn't sit down and think about it and say, okay, we want to develop this character. We came up with it just on the fly. And it was a I guess a spinoff, if you will, of Cousin Cletus from the Copenhagen Trailer Park. And so, anyway, Sergeant Cal, I guess, is still out there patrolling the trailer park.
Yeah, still has his monkeys out there.
Still has his monkeys, yeah.
JJ.
JJ, yeah. Here's a question for both of us. Why don't y'all go back to doing morning radio? It was so much better than what's on there now.
Well, we hadn't been asked, and we're not affiliated.
That's the other thing. We're not, that's not our call, first of all. And we'll get to this in another question, but, life took us in different directions, and I'm guessing if we were asked, it would certainly be something we would talk about. But I also tend to believe that currently, I think probably local radio plays more of a role than it will. But I don't think it's as popular as it was
20 years ago or 15 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't know. I like what we do.
Yeah, I like what we do.
And
plus, it's in the afternoon that we do this.
And we get to kind of do our own schedule, I mean, we get to come up here and do this when we get ready. We ain't got nobody telling us.
Pizza.
Ain't got nobody tell us. We got to back time into
6 o'clock.
Paul Harvey in the morning and all that. So
he passed,
Oh, yeah, a long time ago. But
okay.
So here's a question. What would be your favorite radio memory? And I don't know that I have a favorite. No. I've got a couple things that, jump out at me.
Well, when we used to do ball games, it was the things that happened around the ball games that was just hilarious. And Sandy and I are coming back from Lake Hamilton, I think, and we're stopping in a dry county, and Sandy asked the person at the counter at a convenience store, where can a fella get some cold beer? And there were four
state troopers standing there.
Says, you boys must be from Texas. only people driving up and down the road in Texas thinking about getting them a cold beer.
Trooper said, Texans the only ones I know who say, you see that interstate right there? You know what goes good with that? A cold beer.
Anyway, so that's things like that happen. And you've heard us talk about, the eating breakfast at the place where, there'd been a revival that night, and the place in Pine Bluff where we'd getting barbecue, and a white supremacist came in and started,
of all places, Pine Bluff,
started slinging words around. Anyway,
I mean, all those things are just things we won't forget. I mean, we had the stuff that really, to me, kind of changed your outlook. What we did with the Hurricane Katrina people. In 2005.
That was good.
We filled 3 tractor trailers.
Yeah.
I think knowing that, especially here, and obviously I've been in radio in other markets, but knowing here that the Kicks 103 audience that we had at the time was never, ever, ever going to let us down.
Yeah, they pitched in big time.
Every time. But I also think that goes to, we had credibility with them. If we told them this is a need, they believed it.
Well, we were in the community a lot, and we, when INSCO, Clean Harbors had their, had that big spill or whatever it was, we were on the air that Sunday morning, carried it live and were, telling people what was going on. And people appreciate that. So, well, I can listen to those guys. Just like now, when y'all covered the tornadoes that, you were out in the middle of a tornado.
Yeah.
When they see that you have boots on the ground, and, that's why, for instance, if there's a big hurricane, everybody's going to tune to the Weather Channel, because they know they're going to get up to date.
Yeah.
And that Paul or whoever's going to be.
see Jim Cantori holding on with one hand.
Jim Cantori's going to be, and then a guy walking behind. But,
yeah.
But anyway, we were in the community all the time. And so, and then, but the football stuff was was fun to me.
Yeah. I think the other thing is some of the celebrities that I've got to meet and interview, that's
Sure.
always been really cool. So I don't know if we have a favorite, but I'm with you. Sometimes it was the stuff that happened
Around
ancillary that made it the funny part. Here was a question, Sandy. Why did you and Boomer break up? Hold on.
Well,
first of all, we weren't dating. Okay, let me be careful. Very clear about that. No, but we did spend more time with each other than we did our spouses. That's for sure.
We'd be on trips, and I'd go with Sandy. Let me tell them a story.
Okay.
So, Sandy and I don't deer hunt. We have in the past, but not avid deer hunters.
Not just live for it.
So
right.
we were in your neck of the woods. Mm-hmm. And Sandy says, we'd gotten up, ate breakfast, and Sandy said, let's get the side by side, and I'm gonna ride you around. So we ride around. We're out in the woods, and I got to use the bathroom, and I walk over there and start using the bathroom.
I forgot about that.
And you turn around, and there's a guy in a tree stand. 50 yards from us. We're in front of him. Peeing. And Sandy turns around, and the guy was very forgiving.
Very.
A lot more than I would have been. And never said a word. And you just saw him, and it went, oh, my.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And he's like,
well, we jumped on there. But,
that
we ruined his morning.
We did.
If I hadn't stopped and used the bathroom right there, maybe. Anyway.
Yeah, I forgot about that. But
that was totally embarrassing.
That was embarrassing. But no, Boomer and I did not break up. I mean, like I said, life moved us in different directions. I don't remember exactly. It was 2011, 2012, somewhere in there, that you had taken a job full-time in ministry. And so that took him away from the radio. And also just, as he said earlier, we were edgy. And there were things that we did and said on the radio that it wasn't bad for Boomer, the church member, but Boomer, the minister at his church, would have been on the ministry team, probably wouldn't have looked the best.
Yeah.
And so, it was, I did feel like I lost a family member. I felt like, there was a time of mourning after Boomer left. And I think Casey Wright joined me and started the morning show, and Casey was great. He was fun, but he wasn't Boomer, and it just never was the same. So no, we didn't break up. Like I said, life just kind of moved us into other directions, but we're back now. So how long did it take y'all to come up with those radio bits and skits, and how did you do it every day? Well, we did meet every afternoon.
Yeah, we would meet and write stuff, and Chase had that theater of the mind, and Sandy had the ability to do characters, and we could just ad lib off characters. We'd pick a subject, and so then we'd ad lib a lot of that, and sometime it worked, sometime it didn't.
Right.
and we've had some instances where a daddy would call in and say, "Explain to my 12-year-old son
what you're
talking about."
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
So
and again, but we used to meet, but everything wasn't scripted out. It was very loose, and so we might have a general concept of where we would come up with it. But Sandy, why do you call Boomer's wife Fru? So I don't even remember how it got started, other than I would call her and say, "What you wearing, baby?" And one time she said, "Well, I got on this blouse and it's turquoise." And I was
turquoise.
Like, turquoise. And so then I called her one time, and I would do it right in front of Troy. I'd be like, "Hey, baby, what you wearing?" And she'd say, "I'm wearing a muumuu and it's fuchsia."
Yeah.
And
so it became
came Frucia, and then we just shortened it to Fru.
Fru. Yeah.
And so that's where that came from.
And the rest of that story is that Martha, over the years, and Sandy really embellished this greatly. She's a little bit accident prone.
She is.
And even happened one night at our Christmas party downtown here that we played Dirty Santa, and she had a soup tureen that she was holding and tripped over a little bitty plate in the road, the sewer clean-out plate, and fell down and broke that tureen and cut her hand up.
Yeah.
Stitches bad.
Yeah.
Then she fell on the cement one time, and her glasses poked in her head right here. And then she fell down the stairs one time, and so it became, Boomer, why are you pushing
your wife down? And I would tell him, say, listen, all I know is she was standing up fine on her own. She had not been consuming adult beverages. There were no libations. And next thing I know, she went flying out in front of me and landed on the street.
Now, let me tell you one of the reasons why we broke up, because this happens quite often. And I'm going to give you one that happened just a few weeks ago to Fruit. So, she coupons big time.
Wait a minute. Wait, back up.
Okay.
You said this is why we broke up.
This is why it's a good thing that we broke up. So, because you'd have had this to use.
Oh, you're talking about from doing a morning show together. Okay.
So she had a bag, like a big paper bag with the handles on it, full of shampoo.
Don't trust those bags.
Here, point taken. Full of shampoo, and it was heavy. And so she had on a pair of shoes that, kind of grabbed the ground, got foam bottom or whatever. And she was going to kick her shoes off, and she had that bag in her hand. And I had just gone into the bathroom, and I heard this horrible crash right behind me. And I turned around, and she's laying down whomper-jawed with her head up against the jamb of the door. I said, don't move. I thought she had broken her neck, or it scared the fool out of me. And, we finally figured out she's okay. She's hurt, she's hurt her head and she bruised her elbow. But then we started trying to figure out what had happened. And she says, I basically just tripped. She said, I was trying to kick that shoe off and the bag got me overbalanced and down I go. And, that was when I was glad that I said,
we weren't doing the morning show.
See there, that's why I'm not doing the morning show anymore. You keep falling.
Yeah. Boomer, I get a whole lot of whatever happened to. And they ask about different people. Whatever happened to Chase. Chase moved to South Louisiana.
Yeah.
He's had some health issues. The last time I spoke to him, his health is not good. But he is receiving constant care and hopefully, that can be taken care of. One of his children lives here in El Dorado. One of his daughters, she graduated from college with a bachelor's in nursing, and she's working in Baton Rouge. And so I think, Chase he's living life, but probably not at the level that he would enjoy it.
Sure.
At currently. Steve Harrell's living in New Orleans.
Yeah, he's living a large life.
He and Kathy are enjoying life in New Orleans. And incidentally, Grant Merrill was in New Orleans recently, and he and Steve caught up together and went out, and I think they went and ate some Mexican food or something, and had a good time. Casey Wright, and this is the one that surprised me because I gotten this one a couple times. Wait, whatever happened to Casey Wright? Unfortunately, we lost Casey Wright. He his real name is Alonzo Gongora, and he was a type 1 diabetic. And did all the things that you would think a person needs to do. I mean, he monitored his blood sugar, and he tried to live a very healthy and active life. And he and Deborah, his wife, who was so funny because they dated in high school and broke up. And then it took them 30 years to come back to each other. And then they got married. They'd been out, I believe, if I remember correctly, they'd been out riding bikes. And I don't remember if they were still in the park or where, but they had just finished riding. And she looked over, and he was just slumped over. And he was just gone. Yeah. And it was, my phone rang that night. It was like 9 o'clock at night, and I looked down, and it said Alonzo Gongora. And so I answer, ¿Cómo está mi amigo? And when she said, Sandy, it's Deborah, I knew. I knew something. Obviously she would have never called me. But anyway, so for those of you who want to know, Casey Wright has passed away. Incidentally, we did do a fundraiser because he did pass away without burial insurance. And we did a karaoke fundraiser downtown. Steve Harrell, Jeremy Owens, and I, and a few others. Alexis was very, very important or vital in that. We did a karaoke fundraiser. It was a lot of fun, and we raised a lot of money. Obviously not everything, but a significant amount to where we could help with his expenses.
Services.
JR, I get questions about JR on occasion, and for JR, he went big time.
Yeah, he is.
And
he's a famous person.
He left El Dorado and he went to either Tampa, St. Pete, or Orlando. I don't remember now which it was. I think he did a stint at KRBE in Houston, maybe Super FM in Dallas, and then he went to XM Sirius and became the vice president of programming. Of country programming. So he was in charge of the country programming, and he's the one who brought us the Garth Brooks station. And, basically made Garth his servant is what it boiled down to. I mean, one Thanksgiving, I was FaceTiming JR, and he said, "Excuse me 1 second." We're FaceTiming, right? And so he's like, he takes his finger and does this across the counter. And he says, "Hey, come here. Does that look clean to you?" And he said, "Garth, I swear, if you can't do any better than this, and tell Tricia, don't cook me another one of them dry-ass turkeys, I'll find somebody who can cook better." That part didn't happen.
You had me there with the dry turkey part, didn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, I think I used to ask him, I'd say, "Man, do you get to talk to Garth?" He basically said, "I'm Garth's servant." Garth will look at him and say, "Do y'all not have more coffee? Because my cup's empty." Actually, most of that is true. JR did leave Sirius XM in August of 2022 and or 23, I don't recall now. But he is the talent manager for a very hot
agency
pop group and the Nicotine Dolls. Not necessarily my style of music, but they are good. And then he also manages the Von Erich family, the wrestling Von Erichs.
Really?
Yeah, he's the manager for them. And I wrote it down here somewhere. Steve Dorff, that's right. The singer-songwriter Steve Dorff, who he wrote some hits for Kenny Rogers. He also wrote the theme song for Growing Pains, the TV show. And the entire soundtrack for that stellar acting in that movie Pure Country with George Strait.
You get out of here.
Get out of here. I get this one. Now, this one you'll have to know because I don't. Dusty Ryan. I have not talked to Dusty in probably 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I talked to her son. I talked to her mom.
Yeah.
On occasion.
I've talked to her sister.
Yeah, and her sister.
They're still down in Monroe.
Is she still down in Monroe?
Yeah.
Okay, so I hadn't talked to her.
I don't even know where she's working.
I don't know. Haven't. She's like, I got away from those idiots. I'm not
calling
dragging that back up.
Why would I call them?
Here's a question. What all characters were you? How did you do all those voices and characters? Someone told me Miss Marcille was not a real person, and it was you doing the voice. But I swear I remember you talking to her on the phone. Did I just make that up in my mind?
No. It was all radio.
You did not make that up in your mind. Yes, I was the voice of Miss Marcille.
And
a whole lot of them. I've got them,
The Chinese guy.
Mr. Kim.
Mr. Kim, yeah. Made shoe for Tiger Wood.
Made shoe for Tiger Wood.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know how I did that. The very first character I ever did on radio was way back in the early 90s, and it was Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
And evidently it was a close enough rendition that people really liked it. And so back then I worked at a little radio station where I didn't have a co-host. It was me. And you talk about long shows when you're there doing a 4-hour shift by yourself. And most of the time when you're doing that shift, it's dark. So the only light I would have during the day would be in the morning. Our sports director, Larry Bagley, who was a full-time high school teacher at the time, and then now is a legislator in Louisiana. But he would come in and do his sports show, but it was like 6 minutes, and he was gone. And so the rest of the time it was me. So I would make up these characters who would be on the show with me. And back then we didn't have computers to record into. I would go in and record them on those old reel-to-reel machines.
And talk to it.
And hit play. And I would just interact with it and talk to it like it was a real person sitting in studio.
Yeah.
And I did that with Bill Clinton. And so fast forward many, many, many years later, 20-something years later, I meet Bill Clinton at El Dorado High School.
Okay.
He's here for the signing day. Yeah. And he says, I hear you do an impersonation of me. And I was like, you know, the one thing you don't want to do is an impersonation of someone to them.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got to hear it. And so, I mean, it's loud and, you know, and so I'm like, I tried to shake it off a couple times. He wouldn't let me. And so I was like, it's a Republican's fault that I screwed up. And he said, and it was. And he told me, he said, I understand you make quite a good living out of impersonating me. I said, I don't know if I'd say quite a good living, but he said, yeah, we'll be in touch about the check.
It wouldn't mean the money, but
yeah, you mentioned Mr. Kim.
Yeah.
Mr. Kim was the local Asian guy who evidently had a sweatshop at his restaurant where they made shufa tiger wood.
Yeah, and he wouldn't let Chase and I eat cry legs. We had to eat more bread.
No, you got to eat more bread. That's
More
right.
bread.
Told them they couldn't
You
come
don't
back.
come no more, Chase. And he called us by one name,
Chase Booma.
Chase Booma.
Yeah, that's right. Sergeant Cal McCracken. Yeah, that was me, Miss Mercille. Cousin Cletus. Now, Cousin Cletus was a character I started doing way back in the early 90s. And it was just a guy who would, you know, try to convince me that we were cousins. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're not, you know. And that was always kind of the premise of it. And Big Tony Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about it the other day. One of the funniest, one of the funny jokes that we told was Big Tony Jr. talking about he was worried about the next generation because his son, Little Tony Jr., had been getting in trouble, and said the other day Little Tony Jr. got kicked out of school, and when he left the school, he stopped and he bought like 12 candy bars, and he sits down on this bench, and this old man was like, "Hey, you keep eating them candy bars, it's going to rot your teeth out." And Little Tony Jr. just ignored him, opened the next one and started eating it. And this man's really trying to get him to stop eating so many candy bars. And he said, Little Tony Jr. looked at him and said, "You know, my grandfather lived to be 97. He's like, by eating candy bars? By minding his own freaking business."
And he didn't say freaking.
No. Yeah.
By minding his own business.
Yeah. But yeah, Bill Clinton, and I'm sure there were
We didn't do those here. We didn't do Bill Clinton here.
No, I did not, because I did one time and got in trouble. I did Bill Clinton Sings All Your Favorite Hits. And I just did a voiceover of him singing, "Trying to love two women is like a ball and chain." And they were all cheating songs, you know. And so I got in a little bit of trouble for that. So I didn't do that anymore. Now on Mix 96.
The corporate office called you.
Someone did.
Woo!
Now on Mix 96, I will say this. When Dusty, Ryan, and Drewby were doing the morning show, Bill would call up.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And talk to them, and he would
He'd
always
always be suggestive.
Yes, always. You know, I love waking up with double D's in the morning. That's my favorite thing. And so, but he would always end the phone call with, "Don't forget Obama in 08."
Yeah,
you know, pushing Obama over Hillary.
Yeah.
So that's some of the questions that I get, and hopefully some of those answers will suffice. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will have more of Off the Back Porch and a Florida man coming up right after this.
Grammy Award-winning Train, live. August 27th, the Mad Amphitheater in El Dorado, Arkansas. Train, with special guest Edwin McCain. On sale now at eldomad.com. Presented by Save Me San Francisco Wine Company.
Buying this boat was a total no-brainer.
Okay, I get it. You say no-brainer and the guy with no brain shows up.
I'm sorry, we met our new boat.
For a new boat? You don't call me. You call State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is...
There?
I was gonna say that.
He's right. Your State Farm agent can help you choose the right coverage for your new boat and your RV. It's kind of a no-brainer. Easy decision.
All right.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey, welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer. And Boomer, yet once again, we have been graced by the presence of the Emeritus of the organization.
What'd you call him?
Emeritus. the original, the OG of the Married Out of Your League Club.
Yeah, well, that would be true, too.
And that is Matthew Shepard. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
The Honorable Matthew Shepard.
Yes.
You got to be sure to throw that in there.
Yeah. And another victim putting their reputation
on the line coming on this show with us.
That's exactly right.
That's right. So
Sandy caught me in a weak moment.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I caught him in front of people is what it was.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, will you come on my show next week? Okay.
Sure.
Wait,
What do you do?
Just don't worry. There's a pentagram and small animals.
Everything will be okay.
Yeah, it's going to be just fine. No, very, very happy to have with us the former Speaker of the House in the state of Arkansas and current, but soon not to be, State Representative Matthew Shepard. And Matthew, let's just dive into, now, first of all, you have a lineage, a history of Arkansas politics in your family, correct?
Yeah, I mean, going back, my grandfather was probably the one that was most active in politics in my family, and going back decades, he ran for lieutenant governor as a Republican with the Rockefeller in their first race. He ran for the state Senate and the state House, and very different landscape back then.
Yes.
Right.
Weren't too many Republicans around, but he
Just
was
Southern Democrats.
He was proud. He was proud to be a Republican, and so that's, I guess, through him, and then my mother, and of course she grew up very politically active, having worked on his campaigns, and so. Really that's something that I look back to, but I guess my interest in politics was really just, growing up, I guess I paid attention to the news. Mm-hmm. That's something that was, on TV when after school or whatever. I've been honored to be able to serve the district as state representative. It's been a great honor. It's been, sometimes you really didn't know what I was getting into, but it's been just one of the great professional experiences of my life.
Of course, then you began serving in the state house, and then you became speaker. That had to be a whole different world, because now you're not just answering to the people in your district.
It's different. Historically, in Arkansas, the Speaker of the House was kind of rotated. Back before term limits, it was generally one of the more senior members would serve as Speaker for a term, and that would be passed on to the next in line. And so that for a good portion of Arkansas's history, that's the way it worked. Term limits were passed several decades ago, and so it changed a bit. Although, again, most speakers serve for a term or two. But then when term limits were extended, when I went into the House, you could serve 3 2-year terms, which is really very short, to being able to serve for up to 16 years. And becoming Speaker, it's kind of a grueling process, because
I'm sure.
I've had one former Speaker told me that running for Speaker is like running for governor and student body president at the same time. And I think that what he's alluding to is that the element, as far as maybe being like running for governor, is you're trying to connect with folks, with your colleagues from across the state. Mm-hmm. And so each of them, different parts of the state have different maybe pressing issues, different things that are really important to them. But then on the other hand, you're in a body of 100 members. And so it's, everybody very well. You interact with everybody so much that there's also that very personal aspect of running for Speaker. And so when I became Speaker, and Jeremy Gillum, who was my predecessor, he resigned from the House to take a job at the University of Central Arkansas. So I was elected Speaker about 9 months before the next regular session, and then he resigned, and so I took over about 6 months earlier. And so that was really a good lead-in, because I had some time to prepare for session. But I would say, with COVID hitting about a year after that really changed the dynamics altogether.
Of course, yeah.
Whereas in the past, maybe you could do things, a lot of things kind of remotely. I wasn't having to go to Little Rock as much. Obviously, when you become speaker, you're having to spend more time at the Capitol. And then on top of that, with everything that was going on during COVID, you were having to spend even more time. And so it really, it was an interesting dynamic, and I didn't realize how busy I would become. Not to mention just the text messages and calls, like you said, from across the state, but then also just within the body itself. I mean, if there's an issue among members, I was going to hear about it, and hopefully could work to resolve it.
You served 3 terms as speaker, correct? Which is somewhat unprecedented. I mean, not totally, but it is rare.
I'm the only 3-term, and I finished up a term, so I served a little over 3 terms. There have been 4 or 5 that have served 2 terms, so it was unprecedented, and certainly was longer than anybody else. And that was one of the factors that went into me as I approached my last term, was just the opportunity. I could have run for speaker again, but just felt like it was time to kind of transition back, especially as I was approaching being term limited. And, I think sometimes that falls into the category of just because you can do something doesn't mean you should or you can't. And I like the idea of having my final session without having all the other things of speaker, and just having that opportunity. I felt like that still in my final term, I could be very effective for South Arkansas, but it's been nice to be able to kind of transition. And Speaker Evans is a good friend of mine. He was my House Education Chair the term before last, and he's done a great job, and somebody that I've worked very closely with, and he's been very good to me during his speakership, and so it's I've enjoyed it, but it has been a bit of a change.
Now, I was talking with someone one day, and they were like, I just don't understand. Why didn't you just stay a speaker? And I said, if nothing else, we want Matthew to be speaker as many times as he wants to be. But what happens when we get a speaker who's just not that good for South Arkansas? Do we want them to then go for 4 terms because Matthew did it? So I think he's trying not to set a long-term precedent by doing a 4th term.
That was part of it, I think, as well, as just thinking about where things stood, where I was at in the House, what we had been through, what we had accomplished, and it, as I said earlier, to some degree, it was surprising the amount of work and the busyness of being speaker. I think because of COVID, I think because of different things, maybe the political environment right now, I think that the job has become a much larger job. And so, there are a lot of factors that go into that. And don't get me wrong, it's always, I think it's always a bit difficult when you're making a move from something that you've been used to. I mean, being speaker, I'm not making it out to be the biggest job in the world, but it is something that really it's on your mind every day. I mean, my family, they just know that I was going to be getting text messages and calls at all at really at just whenever, and that there were going to be instances where I may have to get on a call or a Zoom, talk to a colleague, visit with the governor's office, head to Little Rock on a moment's notice to be in a meeting. And so, I think that it has been nice, though, to be able to transition back. And the joke around the Capitol is that this session and this term that I'm in, that everybody says I smile a lot more than I used to. So I'm not having to worry about all these other things.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. Boomer, I asked Matthew one day, we were talking, I said, hey, did you tick off the Tea Party? And he was like, probably. Yeah. And I told him, I said, I got a call from a guy I know in northwest Arkansas, and he's telling me about how they're trying to put together a candidate that's going to run against Matthew. And I was like, dude, save your money.
Yeah.
You're not going to beat Matthew.
Yeah.
And I said, what's so terrible? He said, oh, his numbers in his district are horrible. His disapproval is, and I said, it's funny you say that. I pay for 8 phones and not one of those phones has gotten a call. And Matthew was like, you know, as many phones as I pay for, I don't remember getting a call either.
Yeah. Who are they surveying?
Well, and you know, that comes with the territory in politics,
Sure.
right? And I, you know, I've had great support by many that are part of the Tea Party. They're just different groups, and you know, whether on the left or the right, there's going to be different groups that aren't, you know, may not agree with everything that any member does. And, you know, that's the thing. My philosophy was just try to do what I think is right, what I think is in the best interest and representative of my district. And, you know, I will say this, that I think the great thing that have been very fortunate to have is that within the district, you know, there have been different votes that have taken place, and sometimes I'll get calls about those, but you know, really, even when there's a disagreement about a vote, most folks are very, they can respect the decision as long as folks know that you care and that you're really putting time and effort into it.
And that you're listening.
And sometimes, you know, a lot of times the complaints you hear is just like the call you got. Well, that wasn't from our district, right?
Yeah, not even from our district, right.
And it's always funny to me that oftentimes some of the really rough phone calls or messages that I would get would be from well outside our district. And, you know, that it's you know, you don't like to have people mad at you.
No, but at the same time, let it be them. Let it be someone who didn't vote in your race.
That's the nature of politics, and all you can do is just try to do the best you can. You know, there are a few things that as speaker that you know, I would pray about a lot of things every day, but a few things in particular that I just wanted to have. I wanted to have, you know, wisdom. I wanted to make the best decisions that I could for the people of Arkansas. I wanted to make sure that what I said and did was as a good representative for the people of Arkansas. And, you know, I would just ask that, you know, God would guide my decision making, and that's something that would bring a lot of just a lot of peace and comfort to me to then go out into the day, go into the meetings, and be able to make those types of decisions. But yeah, I mean, it's part of politics, and social media today feeds into that.
It does.
It's, you know, there's some, and social media can be very, very good, and certainly you guys know. In political campaigns, it has become one of the most effective tools to be able to use. Yeah. But one of the challenges we have is that there can be things put out on social media that are just flat out incorrect. I mean, I can give you instance after instance of information that was put out, and it would just be flat out incorrect. Sometimes it would be about, well, what I did or what I didn't do, whatever. And, you know, generally you can never correct all that. You know, one time I tried to, and it's like people just argue. It's like, just forget that. I was like, okay, well, that's, there you know, if people, I think that, but you know, that's the nature of politics today, and you know, folks are entitled to their opinions, and certainly it's great to hear from folks too, because that's also how you can kind of get the pulse of where people are at. But it's been great. I've been very fortunate. I've always said that I've been very fortunate here in our district, because just to have great support, I felt like I had very strong support really across the board, and that even when folks, you know, maybe didn't agree, which, I mean, anytime you vote, there's going to be there's going to be somebody that doesn't agree with that.
Somebody's going to be the mayor of Boston.
And so the mayor of, I actually know the mayor of Boston. I was in a
call her up and tell her she's an idiot.
We were in a kind of a program together that put Republicans and Democrats together. So it's been kind of interesting
to see her tackle this.
Anyway,
you know, speaking of Republicans and Democrats, I think anytime you're in a...
You mean right and wrong?
I think anytime you're in a state with a supermajority of a party, then you're going to have those factions. So, for example, and I won't name names, but we had a Senate election a couple of terms ago where we had a person who was running on the Republican ticket, and I called their campaign manager. I said, first of all, when did you start working for Republicans? And she's like, Sandy, there aren't any more Democrats in Arkansas, you know. And I said, and secondly, when did that person become a Republican? When there quit being Democrats in Arkansas. And of course, that then you had this person who was probably more supported by the Christian right, and this person who was probably way more supported by the left. But they were both running in the Republican Party. So anytime you have kind of a super majority, I think you got to watch out for, that all of a sudden that letter beside the name really doesn't mean a whole lot. You got to really know what that person is and who they are.
Well, and that's been one of the challenges. When I went into the legislature as a Republican, we were still in the minority, and while Arkansas was late to move from being a Democratic state to being a Republican state. When that transition occurred, it occurred pretty quickly because my first term we were
went full blast.
Right. I mean, we were in the minority, and then the next term we had like a 51-49 majority, and then pretty soon we were in 60s and 70s, and then not this term, but my last term as Speaker in the House, we had 82 Republicans, 82 to 18, which that's unheard of.
Not healthy, by the way.
Well, it leads to the challenge of. It creates the challenge of managing a supermajority because then there's really high expectations. Everybody thinks that what they want to get done should get done.
Exactly.
And there still can be difference of opinion within a party. And,
of course, yeah.
And so then that's where you're trying to hold that together. I mean, it's great to have a supermajority. It certainly made it easier for us to be able to accomplish things that were important to us from a policy standpoint, but it also can lead to some expectations where then if individuals don't get everything they want, well, then it's like, well, why we had the majority? Well, there may be a difference of opinion as to which way we go and what should actually happen. And, the good news is that we have been fortunate to have so many folks who maybe in the past voted Democrat that have moved over into the Republican Party, and so that's how our party has grown, and that's been a big part of moving towards that supermajority. But then, when you have the supermajority, then the challenge is now you have to go govern, and you have to legislate, and you have to be responsible with how you go about and what you do and how you utilize that supermajority.
Well, I think it was also probably incumbent upon you as Speaker when you start giving out committee assignments, not to let one ideology just overwhelm the entire body.
Well, and we had the committee assignments during my time changed because we had. A lot of them are done based on seniority, and I tried to really look as far as chairmanships and so certain other appointments is to try to make sure that it was kind of giving a good cross section of the General Assembly or the House, and trying to plug people in positions where they were a really good fit. I actually my first term as Speaker. Appointed every committee position in the House. Historically, Arkansas has allowed you've picked based on seniority, roughly within your congressional district, to try to provide some geographic diversity. My predecessor, Speaker Gillum, had proposed that we move towards just let the Speaker appoint. And so that was voted on before I became Speaker, it was before I became Speaker, but it was actually first put in practice while I was Speaker. And so that was a tremendous challenge because we have every member is on two standing committees. You have 3 joint committees with the Senate, and then you have 7 select committees. I mean, there are so many committees and appointments, and I was the first person to fill all those positions, but then you have the challenge of all that. You're really laying it out for what's the House going to look like. And the interesting thing is the way I tried to approach it was I met with every member. I would always meet with each member before each session, and that would take a lot of time when there's 99 other members. Yeah. And I forget the totals, but I spent hours and hours going over that. But it was kind of interesting because when I would know what their priorities were, like their top 4 committees or whatever, and I could try and work it out where most were able to get one of their preferred committees. Now, I also, as running for Speaker, I had said, look, I'm not going to shy away from doing what the rules tell me I'm supposed to do, but I'll let the House vote. And the House can decide if y'all want to go back in the future to seniority. So we took up that vote, and it was interesting. A lot of the people that were advocating to go back, they were like, well, actually, Speaker Shepherd was very fair to me, and I actually got more of what I wanted. But for the future, we think it's best that it not just solely rest with the Speaker. And so, I was okay with that, and the membership voted to move back. But you're right. You try to look and you try to involve a cross section, but it's and then you just never. The committees do so much of the work that's and that's really the committee. The committee meetings are really, that's where so much of the questioning and public comment and other things come into play. Because in the Arkansas legislature, things can move pretty quick. People are probably used to maybe flipping through and turning on C-SPAN and seeing the U.S. House voting on something, and they're playing classical music and they're voting for 30 minutes. In the Arkansas House, we're voting.
Bam, bam.
We're moving on. And so the committees are really important, because if something makes it to the House floor, there's a high probability it's going to get voted out.
I have testified in front of a committee, a Senate committee in Arkansas, and also testified in front of a congressional committee in Washington, D.C. And let me just tell you, those are two different worlds for sure. I mean, I'm sitting there and before I testified before the Senate committee, I made golf plans with one guy, and we talked about all kinds of stuff. Before I could testify before the congressional committee, I had 4 days of meeting with my attorneys who were walking me through step by step, because you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to go viral for the wrong reason, And so that was tough to be in D.C. for 6 days, and 4 of them I spent about 14 hours each day being prepped.
Wow.
For my testimony.
Did you ever get to pause and whisper to your attorney?
No. As a matter of fact, I had. It's amazing to me that I spent all that time and money
By the way,
to do that, and I think I got 11 questions total.
Really?
Yeah, 11. And I think I was in front of the committee for an hour and 12 minutes.
Is this on RICO charges?
Close. There was a bill coming up for performance rights. So if Matthew writes a song and it becomes a big nationwide hit, but you sang it, he gets paid from ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and the other royalty commissions pertaining to whichever one he's a member of. And so they get that money from the broadcaster, who says, hey, broadcaster, you're making money off Matthew's song.
And I get a little Grammy.
And then, so, if you think about it, 1,200 radio stations nationwide, I'll pitch in a couple $100 a piece. Matthew's going to make okay money with that, right? But you as the performer get zero.
Yeah.
And
so I said I can win that little Grammy. But.
there was a bill to go and start charging broadcasters for this, for performance rights. And our take on it was, listen, Britney Spears just opened a restaurant in Los Angeles. Tell me what she knows about cooking. Or is it that she's trading on star power that she got via radio?
Yeah.
And that was kind of our whole. And, I had hired the now defunct, but at the time it was John Bro and Trent Lott had a lobbying firm, and I'd hired them. And, it was funny because Trent Lott, who was this draconian Republican, if you ever listen to the Main Street media, right? And he's like, he gave me all these soft answers, and this, we're going to, get along, and just, we're not going to be confrontational. John Bro's not like that at all. Not at all. Now, John Bro was also a member of the party who was in charge at the time, too, so it made it a little easier. But I remember his said, here's our compromise, Sandy. Here's what we're going to tell them. Okay, we're going to give you 10 cents off of every record we play. And at the end of the day, we're going to charge you 25 cents for running that crap for free. So, I mean, that was John Bro, and that's just kind of, but of course I also grew up jumping off of his pier into his pond at his house, and which I don't remember, but he told someone, he said, y'all should have seen this kid. When he was a little boy, he would jump off. I said, boy, there are alligators in that pond. I remember going to his house. I don't remember jumping off the pier, but I probably did, truth be told. So. Okay, very serious question now, really serious question. Who's the better quarterback, you or John Thomas?
Oh, well, without question, John Thomas.
Oh,
Look at that humility, man.
What a great brother.
There's a guy who's going to go far in politics.
Yeah.
Well, there's I don't think there's any way I could get around that one. I mean, it's just objectively, he was far better. He was faster, taller,
better looking. No, you almost went there.
But no, he was the better quarterback. Yeah. But we've thrown the football a lot through the years. He worked very, very hard.
You know, the very first year I ever did play-by-play for the Wildcats, John Thomas was quarterback. And I was impressed. And bless his heart, there wasn't a whole lot to work with on that team. I mean, they were decimated from a coaching standpoint. First of all, Scooter Register left and took most of the staff he wanted with him. And then I guess it was Coach Williams.
Yeah, Jeff Williams was the coach.
Jeff Williams.
And they, depending on which year, John Thomas' senior year, they had a pretty good team. They lost in the second round to Little Rock Central, which eventually Little Rock Central, I believe, went on to win the state championship. They defeated Springdale in the state championship game, but they had some great games. That was about the time when
that game was here too, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, I remember
because it was back in the old format where, you would be like the top 4 teams. There were 4 conferences, all in. I think at that point it was called 5A.
Yes.
And so, depending on when the top 4 teams in each conference went, but then you had 16 teams altogether. But if you knocked off a 1 seed, it wouldn't matter if the other team was just going to come to you. And so, I think El Dorado, we had beaten Sylvan Hills in overtime. And then Little Rock Central came down here and played them pretty tough, really.
If I remember right, I think it was pretty close until about the fourth quarter.
I think it was a 28-14 game, and Little Rock Central was loaded. They had a number of guys in there playing for the Razorbacks. But El Dorado, there were some good teams. But that senior year, they had some exciting games. They had a big it may have been John Thomas's one of his best games was at Lake Hamilton, and we were trailing by 20-something points at halftime, and in the second half, El Dorado didn't we
do that game?
We did, and I remember we had given our player of the game to Jeremy Owens because J.O. in that game had an interception, a pick six, like 80-something yard pick six in that game, and of course we were affiliates for the Buzz and Drive Time Sports and that Randy Rainwater show, that scoreboard show he did on Friday nights. And so Randy would always tell me, Sanford, you got to call and give me your stuff every week. Don't you forget. And okay. So we're not even out of the parking lot yet. And I call and give him that. And we're driving along. And then we hear someone from the other radio station call and said, we know Sandy already called, but he was wrong. And then they said, so I ran into that guy a few days later. I said, "Man, what are you doing?" And he said, "Well, we're trying to push John Thomas Shepard." I said, "Dude, you don't have to push him. He's doing just fine." I said, "We were in like week 8." I said, "He's only been our player of the game 6 times this season."
Well, it was fun. I would say this: it was more fun watching John Thomas play than it was for me to play myself.
Oh yeah. Now let's see. Was it the year after you had graduated that El Dorado went to the state championship, played Bentonville?
That was a few years. That was
a few years after you,
right? That was actually John Thomas was a freshman then, but so it would have been probably 7 or 8 years after my playing days. But that was another really good team. I think Jordan Smith was the quarterback.
Yeah.
Anthony Jones, Curtis Clark. I mean that was a tough game. I mean it was, as I recall, it was a really hard fought game. I mean, but it's exciting. It's great to be coming up on football season and
and my understanding, you and John Thomas and Jordan are all going to be doing the games again this year.
Yeah, that's the plan, and it's great. El Dorado has a great football tradition. Y'all have all been a part of that through the years. And, it's one of the great things I think about our communities. It really brings everybody together. And so it's exciting to get that kicked off here shortly. And hopefully the El Dorado will have a really good season. We got a lot of guys coming back.
That's what I was just going to say. I keep hearing, I keep hearing the words "pretty good team," and I, from people that I feel like would know.
Yeah. No, I think it looks like we should have a good team. It's one of the things that I think was something that was really a positive that we took on in the legislature is you were starting to see a lot of transfers at the high school level. I can't remember, Hootens had given the AAA a number, but the top 150 players 2 years ago, like a majority of them had transferred and moved schools because there had been some changes, but we were able to work together with the public schools and the private schools to kind of put together something that the AAA now can follow that will there's still times when folks can move, but it hopefully will not be as
doesn't
widespread.
become a free-for-all. I go back to, I used to do games when I very started my radio career in the early 90s. I started doing games in a little town in northwest Louisiana. Had 2 Division I prospects on that team. One was a wide receiver, one was a running back. The running back had run for like 2,700 yards on an 11.1 average per carry.
Wow.
And both of those guys were juniors. That team won a state championship. And then miraculously, both of them's parents were called into the ministry and moved to Evangel.
Got jobs.
Oh, wow.
In Shreveport.
There you go.
Isn't God good?
Especially at Evangel.
I used to pick at Bill Nolan when he was alive, and he's chairman of the board of Murphy Oil. And I said, Bill, you got a big hammer here. You need to swing it. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said,
give him a job.
I said, just give me a budget, and I'll be back in about 2 weeks with 5 or 6 brand new employees at Murphy Oil. And I said, now they need 4-year contracts. Okay. Yeah. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, have you ever wondered how Odessa Permian does it?
Midland
Lee, how they do it? You got a kid that's a great running back in 8th grade. All of a sudden, his dad gets an oil field job in Odessa.
Well, and now Matthew, I know y'all do a good job, but if they would put in elevators at all these stadiums, Sandy and I we'd be right up in there, brother.
Be more than happy to go.
We'd be bucking for your job.
We worked on that press box project and the elevator. That's phase 2.
Oh. By the way, that money's being raised right now. So if you want to donate to that,
those steps, I think on Friday night, and then particularly, we work on the Murphy USA Classic, and so you're having to go up and down those steps. And I remember when I was in junior high and high school running bleachers down there, and it wasn't fun, but you just did it. Yeah. And now it's like one trip up, and
you're even.
Yeah.
So
I
can't make one trip up.
It's. But anyway,
standing up off my couch is my knees scream at me, so I just can't imagine, going through that life again.
So what's next for Matthew?
That's exactly the next question.
Well, right now I'm just
practicing
law and trying to get caught up on things I've missed during the session, and so I'm enjoying that. It's been nice. That's one of the things when you leave a legislative session. I always tell people, I can be back in my law office here, but I feel like I'm on vacation because I stay busy, but when you're in a legislative session, there's kind of like a level of intensity. It reminds me of like going and trying a jury trial where you're just kind of you're always having to be thinking about what the issues are and so it's been nice to be back and to work on that. So that's where my focus is right now. I still have about 1.5 years left on my term, so still have some stuff going on in Little Rock, taking care of constituent issues, and I'm chairman of the Joint Energy Committee, and still have a number of committee assignments. So there's still a lot to be done in this final 1.5 years, and looking forward to finishing strong.
Yeah, that's it.
You talked about jury trial. I was in a jury pool one time, and John Thomas was one of the prosecutors. As a matter of fact, it was John Thomas and Jeff Rogers were the 2 prosecutors. And, John Thomas was explaining at one point to the jury pool, he said, now I'm John Thomas Shepard. If any of you know anything about me or there's something about me you don't like and you think that would prevent you from being on this jury, I need to know that right now. He said, and I'm married to, and then he starts talking about, and he said, and then my brother, Matthew Shepard, he said, and if there's anything about him I want to know it. Please come tell me.
He's digging up trash.
I'm surprised you didn't raise your hand just to get out of jury duty. Like,
it's so funny. It's so funny because I had several people was like, they actually picked you for this. They did. They picked me for the jury, and I ended up as foreman of all things, which I didn't want and would not recommend to anyone. But my whole thing has always been this. Yeah, you want to get out of jury duty, the easiest way in the world is sit there and every time they ask you a question, say, I'm sorry, what? Huh? You could do that. But then I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear any complaints when a crackhead who's, hurt children or whatever goes free, or there's some crazy lawsuit and it shuts down a mom and pop business. I don't want to hear anything out of you because when you had the opportunity to do your duty as in the jury pool, you chose not to. And
we have a real shortage. It's getting tougher and tougher to have a full jury pool of and folks willing to show up. I mean, you're compelled by law to be there, but there's still a lot of times, and sometimes people there can be very legitimate things going on in life or work where the judge can excuse you for those things. But it's really important that folks show up and participate in that because, to your point, that's number one, it's the best system ever known, but all of us, whether it's a civil or criminal matter, you would hope to be judged by your peers, and if folks are going to participate in that, then it's it gets back to that's what provides. I think one of the real strengths of our system, and if people aren't participating, it kind of erodes the judicial system and can lead to outcomes that maybe people don't think are right.
So in that, when they're questioning the jury pool, at this point there's 100+ of us sitting there, and John Thomas says, if one witness has, they answer some questions, and the next witness is just slightly different, would that make you not believe one over the other if it was just minor differences? Well, I was like, I raised my hand. He was like, yeah. I said, what do you call him minor? Minor's relative. And he's like, I'm sorry, what's your name again? Yeah. So then he said, well, if one witness said the headlights were on and the other one said they were off, I was like,
that's not
did
so
the
minor.
headlights help identify the suspect? And he's like, I mean, I'm just saying. I said, I'm just saying. And he moved on. Well, guess who wanted me on that jury more than anybody? The defense. I mean, when it come time where they're challenging jurors, the jury was like, defense like, no, we'll take him.
We want that one.
We want that one.
Well, and I was on a jury pool probably in the last year or half, 2 years, but I showed up and you have to call, at least in state court, you call in and see if the trial's on or off, but I showed up. I was really close to actually being picked. They go through and they make the different strikes, and then they start drawing names to put in the jury box. And so I was one that was in the jury box. And then they get to where there's kind of the final, they can make their final strikes, and you get a certain number you can strike for any reason, and then there's some you can challenge because of maybe answers and But ultimately, it was a criminal matter, and John Thomas, at that point, was a deputy prosecuting attorney, and so the defense, they thought long and hard, but they're like, I think I have to strike a guy whose brother is a prosecutor.
Whose brother is the prosecutor.
But I would have been fair.
I did after that trial was over. I did ask John Thomas. I said, no one seemed to be concerned that my daughter works for you, because at the time she did.
Well, and that's also gets towards the questioning, particularly in a small town, and those are the things that you're trying to bring up. I mean, I will say that when I was in the jury pool and would show up and had listened in and answered those questions, I would like to think it's going to make me a better attorney the next time I have a jury trial, because it's a much different sitting out there and listening, because then there's like, well, why didn't they ask this? What about this? And when, as an attorney, you're trying to think through all those things to try to cover the waterfront, but I think it will give me a better perspective. Of course, in this day and age, there's really not that many things that actually go to trial. I mean, there's when you have 6 judges and as many cases as there here in our district, I mean, there's going to be jury trials, but just historically compared to what you would have seen 20, 30 years ago, now you have alternative dispute resolution, mediation. You've got a lot more, different alternatives to reach a resolution or, potential dismissal. So, but it's important for people to participate.
John Thomas told me afterwards, he said, well, I knew she worked for me, but I'm not going to ask you that question. That's incumbent upon the defense to ask you that question. Yeah. And I was like, I get it. And,
and they also ask you, that they probably ask you a catch-all to say, is there anything that would keep you from being being fair and unbiased? And
there wasn't. I mean, that didn't play into it at all.
Well, and you run into that in a small town, because there's going to be so many folks that attorneys or witnesses know, and so you'll see that sometimes on jury panels where people may be trying to use that as a reason not to serve, like, well, I know this, but ultimately so many people are going to know so many people that's right. You're having to focus in on what are the relationships that would jeopardize and would cause somebody not to be fair and would cause them to be biased, and that's what you're trying to ultimately get to and make sure that they're ultimately not seated.
Let's go back to politics for just one moment. So, Boomer asked you the question, and that was, what's next? Obviously, you're termed out for the legislature. Does that mean you can't serve in the Senate either?
You can sit out for 4 years. Our term limits apply across House and Senate, so you can sit out for 4, and then you could run to go back to either end. So, who knows what the future holds?
Is that how Jody was able to?
Well, it was different back then because because I think he kind of lose track of it, because back then you could only serve a certain number, and then
it was across both bodies.
Well, it would be like 3 2-year terms in the House, but I think there was also something about when it passed, maybe you could continue to serve to a certain number of terms. You could serve 3 2-year terms in the House. You could serve 2 4-year terms in the Senate. But because of redistricting every 10 years, the Senate will draw for the staggering of terms. And so you could serve 2 4 years, but you also could draw to get a 2-year, because there would have to be a 2-year either on the front or the end of that 10-year period. And so I think that what would happen is that after you were termed out in the House, you'd go and you'd run for the Senate and you'd use up those terms. But at that point, you were completely done. So now our term limits have changed to where there is a potential to run at some point in the future, but there is a period of time where you sit out. And I think the term limits are better now. Actually, I was under the 16 years. Now it's back to 12 years. And that's better, because one of the challenges that particularly in the House, when I came in, 3 2-year terms, you're elected, you have a regular session the January after a November general election. So you're starting right in. So you serve that term. Then you're up for your second term. Again, you serve at the beginning of your term. And then the third term, your regular session is at the beginning of your term. Well, just based upon the experience that you're gathering, and then the fact that at some point you're on your way out, there was really a fairly narrow window of opportunity to really be effective, because quite honestly, the Senate, they could serve for much longer. Governors obviously are able to serve much longer. And so I think that that the House was at a disadvantage, because you just didn't have that longevity. And I think that what we've seen is that because of the extension of term limits, I think from the legislative standpoint, there's a greater degree of accountability that is brought to the table because you have individuals that are actually able to really understand more about what's going on in state government.
And there's an issue where my view changed over the years, and it started back when I was living in Texas, and we had proposed term limits, and I worked on a very heated campaign at that time in blue dog, or yellow dog Democrat country as they called it, and got a guy elected as a Republican. But the first thing that I figured out was Houston had 34 legislators, just in Houston, just general. We had one guy who represented 6 counties. Mm-hmm. The only way he could ever get anything done was going to be to get some seniority. And that's what I've looked at with yours as well. I mean, what is Springdale, Fayetteville, Rogers is 24, 27?
Probably. They picked up more seats. Central Arkansas has a large number. Northwest Arkansas has a large number. Obviously, South and East Arkansas, over the years, we've lost population. Well, you can look at even the House districts. We represent about 30,000 Arkansans in each House district. Probably, historically, the House seat for El Dorado had been pretty much just El Dorado. After redistricting, after I came in, that House seat was the west half of El Dorado, Western Union County, Southern Columbia County, Fairview, Southern Ouachita County, Fairview, and East Camden. And then after redistricting this last time, I was given back all of El Dorado, but the district now goes out to Mount Holly, Three Creeks, Junction City. So about half the county plus El Dorado. So you can see it's kind of growing. And then the Senate districts, Senator Stone's district, he represents Union County, it's probably, I think it's Union, a lot of Ouachita, Calhoun, Dallas. It goes all the way up to around Sheridan. And so you've got these really big Senate districts, but then you can go to Northwest Arkansas or Central Arkansas, and a Senate district may be
from here across the street.
That's right. That's right. A neighborhood or two.
Yeah.
Certainly, House districts in areas around Central Arkansas and really in Northwest Arkansas, it may be just a subdivision or two, and that's one of the things that I've enjoyed about the House is I like the fact that I'm able to be here in a district that's fairly compact and had the opportunity to, you're really able to kind of focus in on that particular area. But no doubt we're seeing that over time you see that population move, and that leads to just a change in kind of how those numbers are allocated. And it also speaks to one of the things that the vast majority of issues, in my opinion, that we took up in the legislature really didn't boil down to party lines. They were more about maybe certain other factors. It could be a rural issue,
right,
versus an urban issue, or a number of other factors. And so it'll be interesting to see over time. Hopefully, we can do what we can here to maintain our population, and maybe with the possibility of lithium and some other things, maybe even have the opportunity to regain some population. But over time, we've definitely seen how that's changed across the state.
Yeah. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. And we do appreciate the job that you do.
Thank you.
And I know that for me, I've never one time had an opportunity to call Matthew or voice an opinion on something where he was just like, Sandy, you're wrong. He would llisten and then tell me I was wrong. No, he didn't.
You shouldn't be wrong on that.
I hate that you're as wrong as you are. But no, you've always been very, very open and very receptive, and made me feel like at least that my concerns weren't falling on deaf ears, and I appreciate that.
Appreciate that, and that's what I think. Hopefully, as legislators, that's what we've tried to do.
Sure.
And sometimes it can get a little overwhelming. I always encourage people to communicate with their legislators. In Arkansas, unlike Texas is a different ballgame. The state they have staff and all this.
Oh, yeah.
And we have house staff in Little Rock, but the legislators in Arkansas, by and large, they're doing a lot of that just themselves. And so I think that communication is important.
Absolutely agree. Well, best of luck to you, whatever that is, and whenever that, if something else comes up, please let us know, and we'll get you back on the podcast and ruin any chance you have.
You took it easy on me today.
We did.
There wasn't a lot to go after you about, unless you want to talk about
No chickens today.
Yeah, we won't talk about the governor's FOI stuff. And
I should have kept my mouth shut.
See, there you go.
There it is. No.
Thanks,
all right,
Matthew.
we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of Off the Back Porch right after this.
It's the one golf tournament everyone circles on their calendar. Serious and casual golfers alike love to play in the 32nd Annual First Financial Bank Share Golf Tournament, September 27th and 28th. 2 courses over 2 days. The Lions Club Municipal Course and the award-winning Mystic Creek Golf Course. Registrations are open now and a number of sponsorships are still available. Proceeds from the tournament benefit the South Arkansas Regional Hospital Foundation. For more information on the 32nd Annual First Financial Bank Share Golf Tournament or to register online, go to sharefoundation.com. You've waited all year. Don't miss it.
LSB Industries is committed to playing a leadership role in the production of low and no carbon products that build, feed, and power the world. Our El Dorado carbon capture and sequestration project is helping the company reduce its carbon footprint while enabling us to provide our customers with low carbon products.
As the summer growing season begins to slow down, you can still find plenty of homegrown fruits and vegetables at Davis Farms Country Market. Plus, a new shipment of baked goods just hit the shelf. And if you've ever wanted to know the difference between the meat from the big chain stores and locally grown Davis Double D Farms beef, you have to check it out. You'll be amazed, and you may never buy grocery store beef again. All of this and more at Davis Farms Country Market, 4523 Junction City Highway, or call 870-639-1323. Hey, welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer. And Boomer, I have a Florida man for us.
I'm always excited for the Florida man.
This is a Florida man 2-for-1.
Oh, a twofer.
Yeah,
Okay.
a twofer. A Florida man was arrested last week after he threatened a landscaper with a 12-inch long dagger. Apparently perturbed by the sound of the worker's lawnmower, cops said. The angry man, Anthony Marzola, was cuffed following the alleged assault on Brian Hansen, who was mowing 2 lawns on a St. Petersburg street near Marzola's business shortly after 2 p.m. Marzola pulled the huge dagger from his vehicle and stalked towards the unaware Hansen, who couldn't hear him as he approached. Marzola was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, booked into the county jail on $15,000 bond, and with strict orders to avoid contact with the shaken Mr. Hansen.
So, yeah.
Did I forget to mention he was dressed like a jester? He was in a full jester's costume when he walked up with the dagger. The 12-inch long dagger.
Okay.
He was dressed like a court jester.
Okay.
Evidently, the local business that he owns is called Jester's Psychedelic Smoke Shop.
Oh, man. And what was the guy cutting grass doing to harm him?
He just didn't like the sound of the lawnmower.
Okay. He was hearing
Which
things.
I can understand, because there is someone nearby my house that decides that 6:15 is the right time to start their weed eater or their blower or whatever it is. And 6:15 a.m. is not the
that's
right
not a
time.
good time.
Incidentally. Let's see. However, this is not the first clown in the last 2 weeks to cause trouble in Florida.
Hence twofer.
Wild body cam footage shows a Florida man being arrested while dressed as Ronald McDonald. Christopher Marlowe, 40 years old, was dressed as the McDonald's character in a bright yellow, red, and white costume and a big red nose as he was wrestled to the ground and arrested for trespassing at a shopping center last week. Footage released by the Palm Bay Police Department shows. So he had been there, and it looked like he was trying to sell stuff on the sidewalk. And they called the police, and the police no trespassing.
Yeah.
You got to go, can't come back. Well, he comes back. And so they're telling him he's going to leave, and he's telling them he's not going to leave. And they're like, yeah, but you
Pretty
are.
much, yeah.
And so then a scuffle ensues.
That's what they're calling it now.
And they did arrest Ronald McDonald, Mr. Marlowe. And once he's sitting in the back of the patrol car, one of the officers looked at him and said, "Man, this didn't have to be this way. You look like a clown." And the guy's like, "No shit, I am a clown, stupid." Charged with trespassing, felony resisting arrest, and simple battery. This is only another charge added to the charge he picked up last year around Thanksgiving for possession of meth and drug paraphernalia.
And so for cussing at a cop, you can't. There's no charge for that?
No, I guess you can. I guess you can do that. You can cuss at cops.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
Yeah. Because there's stuff they can do, too.
That's right.
Yeah.
New York City.
All right.
Okay. New York City officials have doubled down on their ongoing battle with the rat population.
Man, yes.
Announcing that tougher trash rules, expanded extermination crews, and stricter enforcement of food waste disposal should help curtail the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Eric Adams declared the city was drawing a line in the sand, or maybe in the garbage. Rats think they own this city. They do not. Not on my watch. New Yorkers deserve clean streets, not furry roommates. The city plans to roll out rat-resistant trash bins, increase overnight cleanups, and experiment with dry ice and carbon monoxide systems in known rat hotspots. Officials insist the new measures are serious, sustained, and strategic. But in an unusual twist, a satirical social media account claiming to represent the United Rats of New York posted a fiery rebuttal on Friday afternoon. Quote, "We've been here for centuries. We've survived Prohibition, the blackout of 77, even Times Square in the 90s. You think some fancy trash cans scare us? Please." The rat statement went viral within hours, jokingly accusing city leaders of targeting them unfairly while ignoring the real problem. If humans stopped leaving half a pizza on the curb at 2 a.m., we'd gladly retire.
Sure.
So reactions across the city have been mixed. Some residents cheered the mayor's stance. "If they actually pull this off, I might finally be able to eat outside without a rat auditioning for Ratatouille under my table," said one Lower East Side resident. Others were skeptical. "This is New York. Rats are part of the package. They'll outlast all of us," said a Brooklyn commuter.
That's true.
Experts say a true victory is unlikely. Urban rodentologist Dr. Maria Klein noted cities like New York are a buffet for rats. For now, the war continues. On one side, you have a team armed with steel trash cans, dry ice, and determination. And then on the other side, an enemy with numbers, speed, and no rent to pay.
Yep.
So
numbers and speed is what it is.
That's what it boils down to. So, I think it's hilarious, though. There's going to be a war on rodents, and next thing you know, there's a fake social media site that pops up.
The rats will uprise.
Yeah, United Rats of New York. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have more of Off the Back Porch right after this. People will call it a number of things: kisses from the clouds, revenge from Mother Nature, or just a little cosmetic damage. But the truth of the matter is, it's hail damage, and it severely affects the value of your car. And if you don't get it fixed and have an accident later, you could be looking at a lot of out-of-pocket expense from your insurance for pre-existing damage. If you have hail damage, get to Cook's Body Shop. Cook's Body Shop has highly trained experts at paintless dent repair who can make your vehicle look good again. When it happens, look to Cook's, 118 Rowell Street in El Dorado. Hey, welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer. Boomer here at our favorite place, and that's Main Street Pizza.
Main Street Pizza. It's Donnie's birthday.
It is Donnie's birthday today.
Happy 60th to Donnie. And
yeah.
Always a good place to come, and where the pizza is always hot and very good.
Very good. Man, it's, you know, we got ours sitting right there. We're living dangerously letting it sit that far away from us.
Yeah.
But so far, no one's coming.
We're in eyesight of it.
No one's come and taken it or, you know,
not
carted
today.
off with it yet. But, yeah, here we are, Main Street Pizza. And we love being here and thank Donnie for letting us come. Boomer, have you ever considered living off the grid?
Maybe in my earlier days, but man, I'm telling you, I can't live without air conditioning anymore.
I have become accustomed to too many things in life to live off the grid.
Yeah, no, I can't do that.
I agree. Earlier in life, I probably would have tried it
for a weekend
if I didn't have kids and bills. But I've always had those. It seems like, and so no, I've never really seriously considered it. I guess if some kind of global something happened where we had to, I probably could do okay for a little while. I mean, I got a rifle, a shotgun, and a 4-wheel drive.
I'd dig a hole in the ground because it's cooler underneath the ground.
But here is a story coming out of Ashland County, Ohio.
Okay.
Authorities say a couple accused of robbing at least 4 convenience stores in northern Ohio were caught this week after a short-lived attempt to go off the grid.
Okay.
Their attempt evidently went about as well as a camping trip planned entirely from YouTube tutorials. According to investigators, 32-year-old Brandon Tate and his girlfriend, 28-year-old Chelsea Miller, allegedly held up several small-town shops over the last month, making off with the cash, scratch-off tickets, and in one case, a concerning amount of Slim Jims.
Oh.
So, after the string of robberies, the couple reportedly decided the city life was too risky and retreated to a wooded area outside of Ashland County to live completely off the land.
Okay, here we go. And Slim Jims.
They bought a $39 tent from Walmart the day before, filled the trunk with Little Debbie cakes, and told people they were going off the grid. Sheriff Dan Wilcox said at a press conference, "It wasn't exactly what I would call survivalist level planning." Neighbors began reporting hearing a portable generator running loudly
in the woods.
And spotting extension cords run across to an abandoned campground.
Oh, Lord. So it's off your grid.
Yeah, your grid. Investigators later found a solar panel setup designed solely to charge their iPads.
Oh, man. So, yeah. So their version of off the grid.
Yeah. Despite their efforts to remain undetected, police say the pair frequently would drive into town to buy supplies, including bug spray, energy drinks, and once, ironically, a survival guide.
Yeah.
They weren't so much off the grid as they were just slightly down the grid. But with Wi-Fi, Sheriff Wilcox said. The duo was ultimately arrested after Brandon was spotted using one of the stolen store's loyalty cards at a gas station to get 10 cents off per gallon.
Wow.
When asked by reporters if they regretted their attempt at Frontier Life, Chelsea reportedly told officers, "Nobody ever told me there would be so many bugs." The couple's now being held in the county jail where authorities noted they are back on the grid, whether they like it or not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've been living in the woods on a generator and getting eaten by the bugs, jail may
not be that bad.
A step up.
That may not be that bad. That's right. All right, Boomer, it's time for our favorite game. You ready?
Yep. Drunk, high, or stupid.
There it is. All right, in this game of drunk, high, or stupid, this one's pretty easy.
Okay.
This is grade level 101.
Okay, so I should get it then.
Pretty simple, I think. Sacramento, California.
Okay.
State officials confirmed Tuesday that a man managed to get through not one, but 2 security checkpoints at the California State Capitol in an apparent attempt to meet Governor Gavin Newsom.
Okay.
A feat authorities are calling equal parts concerning and confusing. The man, identified as 41-year-old Darren Collins of Modesto, California, allegedly told guards at the first checkpoint that he had a meeting with the governor about the environment. At the second, he reportedly flashed some fake credentials and was somehow waved through. According to staff inside the building, Collins walked confidently towards the governor's office, carrying a folder full of loose papers and what appeared to be a burrito wrapped in foil. He was stopped just outside the governor's office and questioned. Before Collins would answer any questions by security, he said, "I have a few questions of my own. Is Gavin a lunch guy or an early dinner guy?" Capitol Police attempted to escort Collins out, but not before he explained his motives. "I'm not here to cause trouble," he told officers. "I just think the governor should hear my ideas about tacos, specifically making Taco Tuesday a state holiday. Californians deserve that." You know, with all the problems in California, I think
Taco Tuesday's
not on the list.
Yeah.
You can't walk in the streets of San Francisco
without a taco truck being...
Without there being...
Yeah, the taco. Yeah.
Right there.
Post-taco.
Yes. Anyway, originally Collins, by the way, here we go. They're trying to walk him outside.
Yeah.
Somehow he breaks away from the state police that have him and hid for 15 minutes before they could find him. He played hide and go seek for 15 minutes. Ollie, Oxenfree.
In the state capitol.
Yeah, in the state capitol. So they shut the state capitol down, right? They find him after about 15 minutes. Well, then they locked down. They say locked down for another 45 minutes because
trying to open
the something that he had in his hand when he got there
wasn't there anymore.
And they were concerned that it could have been a bomb. And he's like,
sure.
So they're like, they asked him, said, what was that you were carrying? He said, dude, it was a burrito.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, where did it go? His quote, dude, I told you, it was a burrito, and I got hungry.
I've been hiding for 15 minutes.
Police reviewed security footage and eventually agreed that the item Collins was carrying was indeed a burrito. When asked how he managed to bypass 2 layers of security, one officer sighed, confidence. If you walk like you belong there, people assume you do. Now, Governor Newsom was not present during the incident, but his office later released a short statement. While the governor appreciates the public's passion for tacos, he encourages Californians to share their ideas through proper channels. Now, originally, Collins was arrested and booked into jail on numerous charges. However, he was eventually released without charges, but has been banned from Capitol grounds until further notice. When reporters caught up with him later, he seemed unfazed. He's like, look, best thing out of all this is I won the bet with my boys T-Dog and ScuzCup.
ScuzCup? Oh, no. I can understand T-Dog.
Yeah.
ScuzCup will never be elected to
anything,
office.
Never, ever.
Mm-hmm. If your name is Pookie, you can't get elected.
Can you see that debate? Say, now, Mr. Smith, at one point in life, did you go by a moniker as ScuzCup?
Well, yes, I did.
I don't recall. Seems like I was in a meeting one time, and someone there said, but
Let me tell you a funny story about that.
Let me tell you why I'm against burning the flag.
So, okay, just stupid. I'm thinking this is stupid.
Well, he said I won a bet with my boys, T-Dog and ScuzCup. Mm-hmm. Now they owe me a new hang glider.
Yeah, this is stupid.
So evidently, he made a bet that he could get into the Capitol to see the governor,
glider.
And they have to buy him a hang glider. He says, and I won't forget either. I can't wait to take to the air. So get ready, Boomer.
Okay.
In about 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to be doing the story of somebody who died on a hang gliding expedition in Modesto, California. And he said, and honestly, if Gavin hears about Taco Tuesday because of me, I've done my civic duty.
Yep. Stupid.
Well, definitely stupid. I just wonder if he got the munchies while he was hiding.
Well, you know,
he took the burrito with him.
T-Dog
and ScuzCup.
That's a dead giveaway.
Yeah,
for some
I think there's some high in there as well. So in drunk, high, or stupid, definitely stupid, and probably couldn't use his urine to pass a drug test.
No. Only in California.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, not only
because
we got Florida.
Got Florida. That's right. And crazy stuff happens all around Boomer and me all the time. So
and it still does. I mean, you could just follow us around.
Just follow us around. Yeah. Watch what happens. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about what's going on around the area.
All right.
And October 24th and 25th, Smack Over Old Town Festival. Now, they used to be a summer festival.
Yeah, and they're reinstituting that festival that has it has been not happening, and they're bringing it back.
So it's going to be in the fall, and it's going to include a 5K run, 3-on-3 basketball, rod wrenching, drill bit tossing, bunco tournament, arm wrestling, and a chili cook-off.
A chili cook-off?
Yeah.
Are you going to go?
I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. For more information, call the Smack Over Business Association, 870-944-4335. September 4th at Mad House 101, the Mad Hatter's Dueling Pianos. No cover charge for that.
Mm-hmm.
The First Financial Bank Share Golf Tournament, September 27th and 28th.
And you said you're going to play?
Yes, I am. Matter of fact, my team is Mike Port.
You and Mike Port?
And me. And then I think Jax is playing on a team, and I don't know who his team is made up of yet, but he's got a team as well. Destination Downtown set for September 10th through the 12th in El Dorado for 3 days. Again, this is different downtown business associations from across 3, 4, 5 states, and they're going to come here. We're talking about 300 plus people that are going to come here and
a convention
and hold their event. Pick a Pig Suey Corks and Canvas at the South Arkansas Arts Center, August 21st, and that's this weekend. Registration is $40, and you'll be given a canvas and an outline of a Razorback. What you do with it is up to you.
Sure.
For more information, call 862-5474.
Avett Brothers
for that.
This coming weekend.
Avett Brothers coming up this weekend, and then Train next Wednesday.
Yes.
Going to be here as well.
Ashley McBride.
Ashley McBride is
the
coming.
1st of October. Well, the first part.
Yeah.
I believe it's the 2nd.
They're in the beginning.
Well, I had my site pulled up, but it dropped it. And I just, that's why I'm guessing.
Let's see. Also at Madhouse 101, Caden Wilson, September 13th. And he's from Halton, Louisiana.
Yeah.
And a fabulous voice. Man, that guy's got a voice. And then also at Madhouse 101, coming up on Friday, September the 19th, Blackstrap is going to be back. And they're good, man. I really, really like them. So that's a little bit of what's happening around the area coming up in the very near future.
So we're happening around the area as well. You can get us on everywhere. Facebook, on TikTok.
Yeah, Facebook.
And, of course,
at
South Arkansas Now.
And SouthArkansasNow.com. And so we appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in for this episode. And until next week, God bless. Have a good week. Did you know that if your home air conditioning unit is already running and you turn the thermostat down to try to make it cooler in the house, you could be doing more harm than good? This is why you call Dyson Service Company, the experts of home comfort solutions. That's another way of saying Dyson Service Company helps make your home a place of comfort and relaxation. Call Dyson Service Company today, 862-0409.